And welcome back into NFL Daily. We are live after Week 2, a fairly chaotic and crazy NFL Week 2 in the books. We'll get ready for NFL Week 3. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris Daughtry, behind the scenes on today's show. We'll begin with the pinned poll of today's live video. When they're both healthy, which not maybe the case quite yet for Russell Wilson, who should Pittsburgh start at quarterback? RW for Russell Wilson, JF for Justin Fields. Let me know in the comments by typing in RWJF and voting in that pinned poll as well. Steelers once again doing their voodoo magic, winning some sometimes ugly games, but winning anyway. Beginning the year 2-0 behind the strength of their defense. Fields done a good job not turning the football over. Who should the Steelers start? RW or JF? Get those votes in for me in the comments of today's show. Richard Lee and Kenny both typing in JF for Justin Fields. I will hold off on my answer since that will be part of the show. I think is important to not give it all away quite yet. Ray says JF hands down the only right answer. Tony says JF. Lore says JF. Fields getting 75% of the early polling. Still too close to call. Richard also says Russ is cooked. Mark says JF. Josh just has a spooky emoji, so which I don't really know what that is. But anyway, Ard is like a weird like blue ghost emoji. I don't really know what it is. At least I think it's a ghost, or it's someone like clawing at their own face, freaking out. Maybe it's like that. Yeah. Anyway, Drip says JF. Mark says JF. So no RWs in the comments. Russ does have a calf strain or calf pull, whatever we want to call it there. Who we got? RW or JF? Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, who has been the most surprising NFL team so far from a positive standpoint? So we're being nice here. Most surprising NFL team so far this season that it impressed you more than what you expected them to impress you. Not the Panthers, no. That's not a positive answer. I don't think the Chiefs qualify either. Like, we thought the Chiefs were going to be good. They're 2-0. Patriots is a good answer from Drips. They beat the Bengals and damn near beat Seattle. They've been much more competitive than most people thought they were. Cardinals are a good answer, too. We'll talk about them on today's show. Lots of Saints. I think that's a pretty good answer. What was going to be your answer, by the way, Chris? You said you had your positive one? Tampa works, too. So, well, yeah, I wasn't quite turned on there, but you're fine. Tampa's a good answer. Saints, Patriots. We benched Bryce Young. That was very positive. Okay, you spun it. Eagles. Are they, though? It might be on the negative answer side. The Saints is in there. Bucks are in there. Niners. See, they lost to the Vikings, though. I don't think that's surprisingly positive enough. Cardinals, I think, definitely work. I think there are some disappointing teams that we'll get to here. We'll get to that in a little bit, I should say. That maybe even snuck their way in there. Vikings, good answer, too. They've been a nice, pleasant surprise through the first couple games of this year's NFL season. Chargers also absolutely work. That's a good one. Man, that ground game. Like J.K. Dobbins may be one of your surprising players. Early comeback player of the year candidate. Raiders winning week 2, I think does put them in that category. Not really thought that was going to be the outcome there for the Raiders. I think the Saints, though, really, really do stand out. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And it's just curation. Makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today because what time is it? It's game time. The live show also made possible by Prize Picks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, it's just you against the numbers. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS over on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Tua Tagovailoa is set to go on injured reserve for at least 4 games as he has suffered yet another scary concussion. Acknowledging that only one guy can actually make the decision here, and that's Tua himself. Is this in his best interest? Why for yes and for no? One big thing, if he retires, he doesn't get the same amount of guaranteed money. Now, if he's got injury guarantees. Now, they can medically do it, still gets those injury guarantees. And that's where you get to a little bit different part of a conversation with the way the signing bonus was set up and everything else was set up. But why for yes and for no? I do always get a little bit hesitant about doing this when it comes to this is the player's decision. But that stuff's scary. We said this 2 years ago. You always remember the first place you were when you saw the fencing pose. I remember watching a Cal football game. Javid Best goes up and under, and he's literally got a full-on sit-up going, frozen. Terrifying. Chris, you have something to say?
Maybe I'm crazy. Tell me if I am. But one thing that scared me so much about it is the hit itself did not look that bad.
I don't think it was the hip.
And when you just have those concussions over and over again, it just makes it easier for it to happen. I didn't think the hit was bad.
He slammed his head on the turf afterwards.
I didn't even think that was bad enough to knock him out.
That's the thing. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
It's a violent sport. I think Josh is right. In the end, you let him decide. But also, if you're the Dolphins, you don't have to decide to allow him to keep playing. You can say, no, we're not doing it. But that's a very dangerous proposition to have there. We've seen players try before. Roger Staubach did it. Troy Aikman did it after the scary LeVar Arrington hit. I think it is not a true black and white issue. I think there's a lot more nuance than the instant reaction of, he just got to retire, that I think end up getting there. So get your votes in. Why for yes and for no in the comments. Let's go back to the negative side of what we asked earlier. Most surprising NFL team so far, but negative answers. One for me, and it's not really their fault. The Rams losing half of their offense is very concerning. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, multiple offensive linemen. That's bad. They truly did sell their soul for a title. Probably a trade they'd make again, frankly. Ravens, yeah. The Chiefs loss you get, but another touchdown lead you blow in the fourth quarter. What's going on over there, Baltimore? Gotta figure that out. Carolina being, and maybe Bryce Young is the actual answer there. Bears maybe a little bit. Matt Eberflus is not. This was the downside concern you had of Eberflus is not a good coach, and Shade Walton's not a good offensive mind, and he could have hired a better offensive mind immediately for Caleb Williams, and he didn't do that. And their O-line is just not good again, and that's concerning. Eagles, you can't blow that game, man. Packers would on this list if they hadn't ran right down the Colts' throat. Vikings are a positive outcome for me. They've been really good through 2 games. Eagles in there. Broncos. We'll talk Denver today. I have thoughts. I am worried about Bo Nix. I'll say it. I am worried there. Cowboys defense. Yep. Ravens and Rams. Also good ones. All right, the goal of every live show is a 50% like ratio. We're not that far away from it. So if you haven't already, do us a favor. Like today's stream. It should be the first thing you do every time you click into a Chat Sports video because it just gets that positive momentum going. It's like starting off the game with a touchdown drive. You feel a lot better than if you go 3 and out. So like that video for me right now. Coming up on today's show, we'll run through some rumors and news, some Week 2 takeaways, injury updates, and more coming out of the first week of the NFL. A mailbag, 2 ways to get on the show. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat. Now, Super Chats are guaranteed, obviously. The hashtag NFL is the only way Producer Chris is going to find your questions. So if you have questions, comments, thoughts, whatever, you got to use that hashtag NFL. Otherwise, it's just going to get buried when we ask you to respond to other stuff that we ask you. So if you have questions for me, comments, thoughts, whatever, it's like the phone lines are open type of deal. You just got to use that hashtag NFL. And we'll run through the latest 33rd team NFL mock draft. A different name at number 1. That's a big reason why I wanted to put it on today's show. Break that all down coming up right here live on NFL Daily. Now we're filming today's Rumors Roundup as part of our live NFL Daily Show. If you want us to continue to keep doing that, simply like today's video. Let's get into the latest around the Steelers. Justin Fields, that is the plan for the Steelers to start him once again in week 3, after starting week 1 and week 2. Sounds like Russell Wilson is not going to be a full go at Wednesday's practice again due to his calf injury. And if things continue, it is a very valid question about, hey, is Justin Fields ever going to get, or is Russell Wilson ever going to get that starting job away from Fields? Or is it just Fields' job now? Is that what has happened here? Through 2 games, the numbers are not spectacular. The completion is very good, 70% completion rate. The passing yards, 237, is not great for 2 games. The rushing yards, they're there. They've actually not been very efficient on the ground, which is kind of interesting from Fields. They've kind of condensed it down from those high variance plays a little bit, but he hasn't made mistakes. And I think that's a big deal for a team with a good Steelers defense. Let's look at some of these advanced stats, right? EPA per play among 33 qualifying quarterbacks. I did an 8% garbage time filter to take out garbage time, right? Like when games are somewhat close, right? He's in the positive, 21st among QBs. His success rate, a little bit lower, 40%, tied for 25th. The completion percentage over expected, which is negated by drops, requires decent hands. In theory, it's an average amount of drops, so if you have a bunch of bad receivers, that number could dip. But completing a higher percentage relative to down and distance and yards and average target and everything there, so been fairly accurate. Now, you compare those to what Russell Wilson was in 2023, acknowledging a different supporting cast. EPA was negative. Success rate was actually a little bit higher, which means there were fewer bigger plays that led to big points and stuff, but they didn't have as many negative plays or as reliant as some of those big plays. Still was 30th, though. And the CPOE was positive, but not by as much, up by 4%. So what you kind of have here, to an extent, some similarities. Got QBs that tend to hold the ball a little bit long, that aren't putting up massive numbers. They don't look like true top 10, top 15 quarterbacks. The main difference is one of them is younger, is more athletic at this stage in his career, and is currently winning football games. And I think it's tough to go away from the young guy who's winning games for you. When in doubt, tie goes to the youngster, right? If there's something committed to said veteran, which there's not with Russ. So who should the Pittsburgh Steelers start? RW for Russell Wilson or JF for Justin Fields when both are healthy? Let me know in the comment section, the pinned comment actually, of today's show, especially if that ad comes on YouTube. The week 2 takeaways. I got a couple I want to get into here. Number 1, I am very worried about Bo Nix. And a big factor in this is the stuff we were worried about in terms of his profile coming out, what we saw on film, the advanced numbers, everything. At Oregon, exactly what we've seen so far. He didn't push the ball downfield at Oregon. Now, there were some decent successes, but that offense was not a challenging offense. The A-dot was very short. It was not a push the ball downfield, NFL-style advanced passing offense. The passes beyond 5 yards, only through 2 games, I'm not writing them off yet, have been terrible. He is 11 of 36 beyond 5 yards. This is not beyond 10 yards, not beyond 20 yards. It's 5 yards. He's got 4 interceptions on 11 completed passes in 36 tries. And it's not just inaccuracy, it's some bad distribution too. I don't think he's seen the field well. I don't think he's making good decisions, and he hasn't been that accurate downfield, which raises concerns when the profile was, a lot of short stuff, feasted on yak, pretty accurate in short yardage, but how much do you trust him downfield? Seeing the exact same stuff so far in Denver. This is bad. Now it's early, only 2 games, but this is also why you don't take victory laps based on preseason performances. Because guess how many QBs have put up this number over the last 10 years? None of them. Your groupings are Kenny Pickett and Bryce Young. That's who you've been worse than. It's bad. So what is your concern level over Bo Nix? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 in the comment section of today's show. Some more takeaways, these 2 team-specific ones. Well done, New Orleans. You made the move from Pete Carmichael to Clint Kubiak, and the overnight switch makes me think that the Pete Carmichael should be banned from NFL games. The massive difference in the Saints' offensive scheme under Clint Kubiak versus Pete Carmichael is shockingly impressive. They make life so easy. That's not slander against Derek Carr, who has been balling as well, hitting deep shots, talking trash. I love what I've seen from the Saints. No team, frankly, has been more impressive to me through the first 2 games relative to expectations from New Orleans. The next step is how they respond if they're not in that super positive game script, but they've had their way back-to-back games, not just against Carolina, against Dallas as well. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature, by the way. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It is curation to make it easier on you to save money on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You can toggle their all-in pricing feature. It shows your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. The panoramic view from your seats, also a nice feature so you don't become the meme of the guy who's stuck behind a wall and can't see anything at the actual game. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off. Download Game Time today because what time is it? It's game time. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. But do remember, those terms apply. Number 3, the Cardinals might be a sneaky good football team this year. There's more confidence in that on that team. You saw it, right? Marvin Harrison got going. Bad week 1, had an awesome week 2. Go figure that one of the best hero prospects we've ever seen was going to have a big game after that. The Kyler Murray throw where he's celebrating before the ball's caught, that's when you know you're cooking. I love what Drew Petzing does on offense. I think they still need a little bit more talent, especially on defense, but the progress is very much heading in the correct direction in Arizona. In the wrong direction is Bryce Young, and my take lasted 1 game. My take on last week's live show was I would just play Bryce Young all season long. Because worst case, you tank Commander yourself into the number 1 overall pick, and then you trade down, don't take a quarterback, and you give Bryce Young as many reps as possible. Either he's bad and you get a top pick, or he develops. I forgot one critical thing. These are competitive football players, and the locker room turned. That's what they were facing. You saw it on the All-22. There was one play in particular. Bryce Young doesn't step up into a clean pocket because he's broken. He doesn't have confidence. He's seeing ghosts out there. His internal clock is way too sped up. He doesn't trust what his eyes see, and he's skittish right now. He's broken from last year. Happened too fast, but he's broken. And Adam Thielen is open. He's coming across the formation. He's there. Bryce Young has to step in the pocket, hit the deep shot. It's a massive gain. Bryce Young doesn't trust his pocket, doesn't step up, bails backwards into a sack because he didn't have the right footwork, didn't have confidence in his offensive line. And you can see Adam Thielen after the route jumping up and down mad. That's a veteran player. I think that ownership too, by the way, team had lost faith. And if you hadn't made the move, your head coach is going to lose the entire locker room. And that's how everyone on that staff gets fired again. We've got news and rumors for you here all season long. So make sure you don't miss out. We already did Bryce Young trade destinations. That is available on the channel. My boy Tyler Jones took care of that. Go check it out if you haven't already. And make sure you guys are subscribed. Final takeaway from week 2, then we'll get into injury news. What an upset week. And you had 16 games, 5 favorites covered. That was it. There were 8 different upsets. The Dolphins, 2.5-point favorites, lose by 21. The Niners, 5-point favorites, lose by 6 to Minnesota. The Colts were 2.5-point favorites, lost by 6 against Green Bay. The Cowboys, 6-point favorites, got blown out at home, 44-19 by New Orleans. The Jags were 3-point favorites. The Browns won by 5. Lions, touchdown and a half favorites. Bucks won by 4. Ravens, 9-point favorites at a 7-point lead. Blew it. Raiders win by 3. The Falcons, the Eagles, 6.5-point favorites. Weren't going to cover. Blew the game anyway. Lost by 1 against Atlanta. Sometimes the NFL is a crazy lady, and it was a crazy week too. We've also got more troubling injury news here. There's been quite a few of those in recent weeks here. Good news first. Justin Jefferson said he will not miss any time with his quad injury. We'll get practice reports starting on Wednesday for the non-Thursday night games. However, Rams receiver Cooper Kupp, he's going to go to IR. Ankle injury, as the Rams have lost Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and like 3 other offense. Half their starting offense is out. Brutal injury luck there for the Rams. Also kind of bad injury luck for San Francisco. Deebo Samuel, a groin injury, will cost him several weeks as they continue to battle without key players such as Christian McCaffrey, who's also gone on IR. It's Jordan Mason's season, apparently. Tua Tagovailoa has yet another concussion. He is going to go to IR, raising significant concerns that were there as soon as it happened about his overall future in the NFL and what's going to happen on that front. Acknowledging that, look, it's Tua's decision. It's up to him. What do you think he should do? Should he retire? Y for yes, N for no in the comments. How about Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco? He needs surgery for a fractured fibula. He's going to miss at least a month, maybe 2. Kareem Hunt going to the practice squad. It's about to be our Gator-owning friend Carson Steele, who's going to get a lot of work in the backfield for KC. A.J. Brown is going to miss a few weeks with a hamstring injury, which really impacts that team's passing game. I think you saw it in week 2 against the Falcons. Big loss there, Philadelphia. It means more targets for Devonta Smith, and maybe Jahan Dotson gets going. And then already not having Hassan Reddick, and boy, you wish you had him right now, Jermaine Johnson out for the year with a torn Achilles for the Jets, putting them in a pretty rough spot to figure out how it all works out as they move forward from a pass rush perspective. All right, negative answers only. Who is the most surprising team so far in the NFL? Let me know in the comments. I forgot to do the use hashtag NFL. So use hashtag NFL or Super Chat if you want to get on the show. Here's some hashtag NFLs I've seen, but more is more. Best ones get in. Most surprising negative team so far. Chris, I guess, did you ever give me your negative answer or no?
I did not. Let me think about that for a second.
See Giants in there. They're bad, but like kind of they're gonna be bad. Yeah. Maybe they were worse than we thought they were gonna be. Rams injuries stand out to me.
I mean, maybe the Cowboys. Honestly,
I think in just week 2, yes.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of knew. We talked about it so much on the Cowboys report. How many things, the running back, the DTs, we knew that was going to be a problem, and it has definitely shown up.
Everything we're like, hey, this is a red flag. Well, they were red flags for a reason. Ravens, I think that's a good one too. Chiefs loss, okay. Raiders loss hurts. Now you have limited your room for error. Your margin for error is gone for a team that also can't beat Pittsburgh for whatever reason. Bengals, week 1, Bengals were the biggest disappointment. They're kind of like the Bengals too. Next, like you should have beat the Chiefs. Makes you feel better about them. Brian Dable and Joe Shane from the Giants. he got a new kicker again now, which is interesting.
I like the Bears' answer, too. I really thought going into the season that the Bears were going to have a better start, at least, than what they have so far. But Caleb Williams has just been running for his life.
It's a lot of concerns there. So get your questions in here for today's mailbag. So if you haven't already, #NFL or skip the line and super chat. It's time for a mailbag here on NFL Daily, answering all of your questions. I am Tom Downey, and first up is Skyler. Should Carolina look at Penn State's quarterback in the second round? If you want to go take a quarterback, here's the issue I still have for Carolina, even though my Bryce Young angle ended up being wrong. This team is still, I don't think, that good. I think there's a lot of holes because of all the stuff you gave up to get Bryce Young. So if you're spending another premium pick at quarterback on a shaky roster, you're still kind of setting up massive concerns and success for the new young guy. Is Drew Allar, the Penn State quarterback, the answer? Maybe. I honestly, if I were Carolina and I bottom out and finish with a top 5 pick in a shaky QB class, I'm not going to take one. I'll trade down. I'll acquire more assets. I'll tank again. And maybe it's Arch Manning. Maybe it's Jackson Arnold. Maybe it's Nico Iamaleava, however you pronounce it, out of Tennessee. Maybe one of those young guys in what looks like a better 2026 class. I think that puts me in a better shape, better spot to win games than, taking a Will Levis type of guy in the second round. From Ray, what are the Bears going to do with the offensive line? I do think you have schematic issues up front. Look, Shane Waldron didn't get great pass blocking out of the Seahawks last year. We thought that was maybe the personnel in Seattle. Minimal changes in Seattle. Pass blocking looks better with Ryan Grubb and company up there. And now those issues are in Chicago. Like, Darnell Wright shouldn't be getting beat this badly. Nate Davis is an issue. Your center is an issue. There aren't options available. Again, a lot of these core problems, you solve those in March. Solve those in April. Not in September. So you're going to have to scheme stuff better. And that maybe is an issue, and why some, not everyone, said, hey, you should go get a different offensive-minded head coach and not waste a year potentially of the Caleb Williams contract. It's only 2 games, but they got to figure some stuff out. From Bobby Thrill, at what point will the Broncos decide to trade Courtland Sutton? So there's 2 schools of thought here. I think both have pros and cons. You are rebuilding in Denver. Get what you can. If the player involved isn't going to be a part of when you're ready to compete and win real games. The other school of thought is that works in some areas, but you need to maximize the development of your young QB. And I don't think many of us believe that a offensive core in Denver that features Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin and now on IR Audric Estime and Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, it's just not a good group of wide receivers if you trade away Courtland Sutton. And I think you need to figure out quickly if Bo Nix is your guy. And taking away his best playmaker and going with Josh Reynolds, Devon Velley, who's almost 30 as a rookie, seriously, Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin, that's not a good group. That's not a good wide receiving core. So I would wonder, for Denver's perspective, unless you get blown away by an offer, maybe you're better off keeping Courtland Sutton and trying to kickstart the growth of Bo Nix. That might be more valuable than the 3rd-round pick that they turned down for him. So will the Broncos trade Courtland Sutton? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments of today's video. From Lord, do you believe the Niners special teams coach? I'm a bit worried about the special teams coach and head coach will be fired by the end of the season. I'd be very surprised if they fired Kyle Shanahan. I get that for the Niners, maybe more so than except for the Chiefs out there. It is Super Bowl or bust, and that is everything else except for a championship in San Francisco just isn't enough because they've been so close for so long. It's different than other teams, right? If you fire Kyle Shanahan, there would be teams out there secretly backdooring saying, hey, you want to come here? We'll fire our head coach. And they'll take the Rooney Rule violations that they don't care because it would get them a lot closer than where they currently are at. So I think you're going to fire Shanahan. Special teams coach? Maybe. Kind of like the long snapper. If you know your special teams coach's name, something bad may have happened. Now, there are exceptions. Like they're doing fun stuff and creative stuff. But, you're saying his name a lot. It means something bad probably happened. Drips. Who would you rather have if you were the Giants? Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, or Carson Beck? Reverse order. I think I'm going to cross off Jackson Dart first. I like him. He's tough. The Lane Kiffin offense does not mold itself to high-level NFL quarterback play. It is a Mickey Mouse offense that works so well in college football. I don't think there's the physical skill set to justify him being more than QB5 on that list. I'm going to cross off, honestly, pros and cons, everyone beyond that. Quinn Ewers looked better the first 3 games. Now he's hurt. What's going to happen there? Can you go away from Arch Manning if he's balling out because of who he is? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. He looked better, but also that's like a 3-game sample size. There's still deep ball outside issues. I love what I've seen from Cam Ward through 3 games. Not good competition so far. He balled out for the first 4 or 5 games last year, then fell apart. Got to see him do an entire season, and that's the case. If he plays great all year, he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. He'll probably be the number 1 overall pick. Jalen Milroe's got a ton of talent, arm strength, mobility. He's not great in the intermediate and holds the ball too damn long. That's got to be ironed out still. Carson Beck is like a Jared Goff type of player. Like, is he? I think you're getting a good quarterback, not a superstar quarterback. You want to gamble on the higher upside stuff. It's all things you kind of got to balance and figure out. It makes for a very tough question and one that we can't really answer until the college football season wraps up. But it does make for a good question as well. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. Unlike other apps, and this is what I like most about Prize Picks, it is just you against the numbers. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch your winnings roll in. One of my favorite features they're doing in the month of September only, 1 Caleb Williams passing yard, as decidedly mediocre as the Bears have been, gets you 1 win, though, on Prize Picks. Just got to get the yard. Half yard more. Easy. It's 4 weeks of free W's. Some other ones I'm doing as we get ready for week 3 of the NFL. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb more than on the receiving yards. The Ravens' pass defense has been a little shaky. Cowboys have to feed CeeDee Lamb. And the Cowboys' run defense is bad still. Hit outside zone with Derrick Henry for chunk plays. He could do that on 1 run against Dallas, honestly. I'm a little surprised it's only 68.5. So I'm a big fan of that option there. So download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Double O Sports, will Jeffrey Simmons be on the block in a couple of weeks? I'm going to go with doubtful, but it's a fun superstar dark horse name. I will give you credit on that one. I am very curious how Tennessee plays the next month. Because I think they're in a Denver situation. You want to see if Will Levis is your guy or not. Their defense is actually pretty darn good, though. Like, even if Levis isn't the guy, they might think they're 1 guy away from competing next year at QB. And that might keep them from selling fully on guys like Simmons and others. Skyler trade John Mechie to Dallas. Sure, John Mechie's kind of buried on a pretty good Texans depth chart. Former second-round pick out of Alabama. He hasn't been able to get on the field. The issue for both teams here is Houston's not going to get much back for a player that they probably still like. And if you're Dallas, are you convinced he's more than a wide receiver? Because I think for the Cowboys in particular, it's not that they need bodies. Like, yeah, he's better than Jalen Brooks. I think we all know that. But does that move your needle properly? they kind of need dudes. They don't need options at wide receiver. They need great options at wide receiver. I don't know if Mechie's that guy. Now, of the receiver options, I think he could certainly be available, though, so it makes sense. They got to figure out if that's the type of caliber of player that they need to go acquire. Adam, Hassan, Reddick going to show up this week. Boy, the Jets sure could use him after the unfortunate Jermaine Johnson injury. We'll see if I look dumb or not, since this isn't going to go out to like Saturday or Friday, and we're filming this on a Tuesday. But what will the Jets end up doing with Hassan Reddick? T, if they're going to trade him, ship him off somewhere else. I think Arizona makes so much sense still. P, if they're going to pay him, they're going to freak out after the Jermaine Johnson injury, give him a nice contract, or N for nothing. And they're just going to, call their bets, and they're going to call the bluff still. Get your votes in for me in the comments of today's show. From Ray, if the Bears don't win the next game, offensive coach should get fired. You can't do that. Like, I get that the offense has been bad and there's concerns there. You also need to have stability. Like, you can't just keep shuffling coordinators out every month. Like, you have to give him more time than that. Because otherwise, you're setting up a cycle of failure. Going to have this offensive coach in there for half the season. Then another one. Then you're going to fire the head coach. And now you're on the third offensive staff in less than a year. And that's not a recipe for success. You have to give him more time and give them chances to kind of right the ship. Now, if you want to be a part of our mailbags, then you got to be subscribed. Otherwise, you're just going to miss out on everything. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. From DC Times Viper, which team has had the biggest turnaround this year who was awful last year? Early returns that are positive, right? Like from teams that were very bad. Chargers certainly stand out. Competent coaching goes a long way. Much tougher level of competition still to come. I feel pretty good about the Cardinals. I don't think they're going to be a worse to first team, but I like what I've seen so far. Vikings have now the quarterback's healthy. Good things are happening for them, right? But the Commanders are technically first in their division. I don't know if I buy that, but it's one worth mentioning. Jets probably win more games if they're healthy. Patriots also look more competent too. I mean, they're already a fourth of their way to their win total from last year, right? That one Falcons fan, if the Falcons upset the Eagles, what's the possibility that they beat the Chiefs? What's the spread in that game? I would not say great. I think because you've got a Chiefs team that's a little bit mad over what happened last week because they did not play very well. The line in that game, it's a home game for Atlanta. Primetime Kirk was pretty good on Monday Night Football. Chiefs are only 3.5-point favorites. That's decent. That's not a big spread for Atlanta. Tells me that game's going to be more competitive than maybe most people think. Connor, what's the best fit for Bryce Young to make him not awful? I got two teams in mind. Like, that maximize him. Maybe not the team needs the most. I think the Rams, Sean McVay, and let him develop behind Matthew Stafford for a half season, a full season, 2 years, whatever. That's a shortcut to not having it be Stetson Bennett the fourth out there. I think Miami stands out right now because there's massive uncertainty with Tua, and I think Bryce Young's best fit is a quick passing game, and that's what Miami does a lot of. And if you have McDaniel in there and you get him to buy in and have some more confidence and not dance around so much, I think that could fit pretty decently. Now, there's a real chance he's just broken. Have to acknowledge that. I don't think it's going to be Carolina in 2025 for Bryce Young. I think that race done been run. So where will Bryce Young play in 2025? Let me know in the comments of today's show. From Gaming Wizard, who was more impressive, the Bucks or the Saints? My answer is yes. Frankly, I think it was both teams that were more impressive. That were impressive. Like, Bucks went on the road, took care of a Lions team that I think was really good, or not on the road, but whatever. Again, Lions team that was very talented, viewed as a contender. Same with the Saints and the Cowboys. So take your pick. You know, it's 1A, 1B. I think I'd give it to the Saints, but that's not a slight at all against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. From Drips11, if Joe Shane gets fired, who's a good candidate for the Giants GM? Bill Belichick. That's your answer. Bill Belichick gets to be head coach and GM in New York. That would not surprise me at all if he's coaching somewhere in the NFC East this upcoming season. With that said, you got to think long and hard about other GM options. I think you're going to call the successful front offices. You make calls about trying to get Will McClay from the Cowboys, as teams seemingly do every single season. You make calls, teams like the Chiefs, the 49ers, teams that have been consistently good. The Lions started to get some poaching last year. You try to find successful organizations and steal their top lieutenants and make them your generals. Works pretty well more often than not. Unless it's the Patriots. Never hire a Patriots organization. A guy that's not named Bill Belichick. That has never worked and will never work. Dable's been the closest successful story. And he was there very, very briefly. All right, most surprising team in the NFL so far. Positive answers only. The old wife call in the middle of the show. Probably because Kiddos. Yeah, it was me. I put it away. I don't think you could really pick it up. It was probably more than the headset. So, most surprising team so far. Saints. Positive answers. Vikings definitely fit in there. Skyler wants to know if should coach Prime. No. It's a horrible idea. He's just not an NFL coach. That's not how he wins. You win as an NFL coach because you're a great schematic guy or you're a fantastic motivator. Is that Coach Prime? No, he's a recruiter and a salesman. And that works in college football. It doesn't work in the NFL. I hate his schemes on offense and defense. Now, he's hired coordinators to do it. Pat Shurmur is not a college football OC. That man is boring and vanilla as something I should not say on air. It's bad. And not only that, look, Coach Prime is a distraction. He has done a fantastic job of getting attention to Colorado, positive and negative. You already got that in Dallas. I don't need to put the Cowboys on the map the same way you need to put the Colorado Buffaloes on the map. I don't need my head coach taking pot shots at former players. I don't need that. And by the way, he still hasn't won at Colorado. They've won more. You can't hire a 4-win college football head coach. I can't do it. It's a terrible idea. I have zero. If you try to hire Deion, you're just making a mistake. My favorite all-time player, by the way. It's a bad NFL head coach idea. It's not something I have any interest remotely in pursuing. Before we break down the 33rd team's latest NFL mock draft from my buddy Kyle Krabs, do you want me to do my own NFL mock draft? Like the video? If so, this show will go on both our NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports and our regular Chat Sports YouTube channel. Whichever channel gets the most likes gets to have it first. Other one will get it second. My own one, at least. And the main one gets this one first. So if you haven't already, make sure you like today's video. All right, this order is based on what the 33rd team did, so do not blame me. I take no responsibility. Cam Ward goes number 1 to the New York Football Giants. If Cam Ward plays like he has done over the course of the first 3 games against probably not great competition, he'll win the Heisman Trophy probably, and he's got a great chance to be the number 1 overall pick. And we said the exact same thing last year. He was balling out at Washington State. First 4.5 games, he was killing it. Down the stretch for the Cougars, it fell apart. So I need to see him carry it through an entire season. If he does that against better competition, this makes a ton of sense and is a lot more fun for the Giants than the Daniel Jones era. Number 2 is Carson Beck. And I am worried about this particular fit. I think Carolina's got talent issues. Guess what Georgia doesn't have, really? Talent issues. How many 5 stars do they have? I think Carson Beck is a good quarterback. But I also think like the floor is a Kenny Pickett style guy, and the ceiling is like you get Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins. Now, if you get that quickly, get that on a rookie contract, super valuable. I mean, look what the Niners are doing with maybe a better version of Brock Purdy. If you don't get that until it's time to pay him, well, you've kind of missed that great window there. I don't think the physical skill set for Beck is as good as, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, other guys. So that concerns me a little bit. I think we're going to force a QB early this year for a lot of teams. Not for New England. It will eventually be Drake May. And I think getting a legitimate left tackle in there in Kelvin Banks, zero complaints. Smart move from Kyle in this mock draft. The Commanders, Will Johnson out of Michigan. Malik Neighbors smoked him. Took him out back. Low and slow ribs. It was bad. They don't have enough talent out there on defense. So getting more talent for Dan Quinn's team makes sense. But maybe also you consider a wide receiver or an offensive tackle too. Denver, Tetairoa McMillan. I think they call him T-Mac on air because they don't trust the first name pronunciation, by the way. I don't know if you've watched any of those Fox games. I love McMillan. Now, he's kind of a weird profile. He's like a giant, skinny, fast slot who isn't as good in catch as you think for a guy his size. He's kind of skinny, though. But the Arizona offensive line is F it, McMillan down there somewhere. And it works. You get a playmaker for Bo Nix. That makes sense to me. Shedeur Sanders, number 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't mind my quarterback having a bit of edge. That can be a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, though. And I think the biggest question mark for Shedeur he's going to face come combine time, come interview time, is, hey, how's the leadership? Because you don't want to see your player taking shots at old teammates on social media. I'm sorry, that's just a bad look. Taking shots at your current offensive line. He wasn't wrong, but sometimes don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all type of deal. Support your guys. I think there's plenty of talent there. But it's the stuff that's the intangibles sometimes matter even more so. Who will be the first quarterback drafted this year? Cam Ward, Carson Beck, Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers. It is not going to be Connor Wigman. He might have to go hit the transfer portal, by the way. Tell me who you think goes first among QBs at the pin comment of today's show. Will Campbell, LSU, tackle, number 7. Put him on the left side, put Jason Smith back on the right side with the pitch from Kyle, and yeah, I'm on board with that. I think that's a good idea for Tennessee. There's Travis Hunter, number 8 overall. He plays wide receiver and corner, and I legitimately want to try him at both spots. Now, I think he's probably a better corner right now than he is wide receiver, not by much, but receiver also makes a lot more money, which is not something that I think Hunter will ignore there. I kind of want to try him at both spots. He can be your number 3 corner and your number 3 wide receiver. Because you're in 11 and nickel so much anyway, you kind of cut down on the snap count a little bit there to make it easier for him. Cardinals could use both. Although I think receiver probably less so because I like that trio. I think Greg Dortch is a fun slot. I love Trey McBride. Marvin Harrison is a great number 1. I think Wilson's a fun fit as a 2. But corner also is a need for Arizona. I think like every mock draft you watch or see or read is going to put a Michigan defensive lineman to the Minnesota Vikings. They are high on both of them, by the way. Coming into the year, they were. I know that for a fact. And Mason Graham's a great football player. Fills a huge need. It makes a ton of sense, right? I like this fit, too. Luther Burden, slower start to the year. Missouri's not played the best competition. He'll get going. Kind of a yacky player. Different style than some of the other options on this Browns offense. I think there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with him. He's not like a Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase. He's kind of like a lesser version of that one. But I think Burden is a really fun fit for what the Browns want to do. Maybe it's not as obvious as like every mock draft's going to have Minnesota taking a defensive lineman and Tennessee taking an offensive lineman. I think Burden in Cleveland is a fun fit. If you have not already, download the Game Time app today. It is a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It is curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The all-in pricing feature shows you your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. The lowest price guarantee is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today because what time is it? Game Time. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's gametime.co, promo code CHATSPORTS. Indy taking Benjamin Morrison. They need a number one corner. Benjamin Morrison, I know that's not much to say on it, but sometimes the stuff that makes sense doesn't need a ton of answers for you. The Falcons, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, been a bit nicked up against, and hasn't played a ton because it's been bad competition. He's a bendy pass rusher, though. He's athletic. I like those guys. They're harder to find. He makes a lot of sense for the Falcons. Chargers, look, it's a Michigan man for Jim Harbaugh. I think DT's a need, and Kenneth Grant is a freaky athlete, so I think still needs polish like some of the other freaky athletes to come out of Michigan on the trenches in recent years. But Grant is a very fun football player who will get a ton of hype come combine time. If he's not, already getting the hype as a top 15 projected pick. Abdul Carter out of Penn State. I don't know if Seattle needs an edge the same way we felt they did previously, but it's okay. Carter off to a slightly slower start than I'd hoped for, but a lot of game left to go. He'll get Micah Parsons comps as the linebacker turned edge who hasn't been quite productive as I'd hoped for. Garrett Nussmeier at 15. And I have seen things I've liked from Garrett Nussmeier. I have a very difficult time getting over that pick against South Carolina. That should have cost them the game. That is I am forcing a corner route against triple coverage and just not reading to see what the defense actually is. He thought they were in man. He wanted to throw with anticipation. There's 3 guys right there. I think he's probably better off not going pro after this year. Dolphins quarterback, I get it. But I think in general, and we're all going to do it, because teams need QBs. There is not, an obvious locked-in, clear-cut first-round pick at QB right now. Maybe Beck is a first-round pick in most classes, but is he a locked-in top 3 pick in most classes? No. There's going to be forcing of quarterback picks that will probably get regimes fired. Now, look, it is never too early to talk about the NFL draft. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed, youtube.com/chatsportstv if you're watching on our main channel or our draft channel. Make sure you're subbed over there as well. The Bears, Michael Williams out of Georgia. He's been nicked up. That's why I haven't heard his name as much. Once he gets healthy, watch out. And another pass rusher, always a good idea to have in Chicago. Maybe you want an offensive lineman instead. That's what the Saints did at 17. Emory Jones. Stays in the Bayou. I don't hate that at all, actually. Although Trevor Penning hasn't been that bad. 2 games only, so we'll see how that plays out moving forward. Javon Ravel Jr., everyone's in on him since Dane Brugler mentioned him. Everyone's like, oh, Dane mentioned him? We should go watch ECU film. Oh, my God, he's awesome. That's how it goes sometimes, right? Big boy had the awesome pick 6 for ECU. Senior Bowl could have like a Quinyon Mitchell-esque impact on his stock. Sicario Davis out of Arizona. I'm glad Kyle put him on because I like a lot of these Arizona players. McMillan. Buffett is fun, but is maybe too backyardy to actually work as an NFL QB. Davis is a good corner. Still got room to grow, but I think for the Rams, it's a pretty solid fit. I do like this fit, too. Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, the defensive tackle. The first OSU player taken, by the way, in this mock draft. We watched the Saints game, right? They still need DT help. And their best one is Oso Odigizua, who's a free agent after the season, by the way. Steelers, Isaiah Bond, 21. You didn't get the Brandon Ayuk, didn't get insert wide receiver here. Here's a speedy threat that I think pairs pretty decently with George Pickens. Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Not a great start to the Aggies season, but it's an early season after all. They're not out of it quite yet. Another front player for Tampa. I don't know if they desperately need that, but this is the right range for him so far, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. Ariante Ursary. I would be a little surprised the Bengals moved on from Orlando Brown after this season. If they did, okay, Ursary could make some sense there. I still think there are maybe bigger concerns overall with the Bengals than swapping out one player for a first-round pick, but they've missed on some draft picks, kind of putting them in a bad spot. The Jets get Malachi Starks. Value-wise, as we sit right now, he's probably a top 10 player on my board. He's awesome. And Jets getting an impact true free safety be a lot of fun for that team in the back end. The Eagles would never actually do it because they value the premium positions too much, edge, corner, wide receiver, offensive line, but they do need an impact safety. Kevin Winston would be great. He's a damn good football player. It's just so unlike the Eagles, I wouldn't assume it actually happens. I love Ashton Jeanty. He probably is our one with how good he's been so far this season. He's a great fit for Houston. They also just paid Joe Mixon. I don't know if they'd actually cut Mixon after 1 year. For a team that wants to run the football, though, and will lean on it, it's a fun idea. It's a good running back class, by the way. There's a lot of talented players that are going to go in the whatever 20s to 50-something range. You're going to have 5 guys go in that range. How many running backs do you think go in round 1? Let me know in the comments section of today's video. Number 27, Jack Sawyer of the Ohio State. He's been really good for the Buckeyes. And again, he got some more competition to come. But he could have been a top 50, top 75 pick last year. Could bump himself in round 1. I like Green Bay going corner. I'm hoping Denzel Burke kind of gets back on track. It's been a little bit inconsistent in recent years for Burke, but I think there's plenty of talent there. Harold Perkins, the athlete for LSU. He's not an edge rusher. I get vibes of the worst versions of Isaiah Simmons in the NFL. Of like the downside of like, is he a linebacker? Is he a blitzer? Is he a nickel? They gave him like almost like strong safety reps, kind of like they made him the overhang defender. I still don't know how to best maximize him in the NFL. And I think you have to go to a good defensive coordinator to make this work. But there's talent there. It's just how you deploy it properly, I think, is still a question mark. Ravens get an offensive lineman. They need one. Jonas Savaiinaea out of Arizona. He might be a guard in the NFL, but I think he's going to be a good one. Tyler Barron has had a very strong year for Miami so far. The Tennessee transfer goes to the Detroit Lions. They could use more help there. It's a logical fit. I like it. Chiefs get another wide receiver. I honestly would have gone Colston Loveland here, by the way. I think they've been a really fun fit for KC. But Emeka Egbuka as a complementary skill set to Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy kind of works. I wonder if a true big body on the outside would make more sense, though. Like, they're not going to get him, but McMillan would be so much fun in Kansas City because he's still a little finesse. But a physical body to pair with Rashee Rice underneath and Worthy as the speedy guy could be a good trio at wide receiver. But Egbuka as a possession, route runner, okay, I don't mind that either. Who did Kyle Krabs leave off of his 2025 NFL mock draft? Let me know in the comments of today's show. I'll mention a couple names that I want to mention too. Quinn Ewers not on there. Now, it's a weird spot for Quinn, man. He was playing great football, and he got hurt again. And he's been hurt a lot. Durability is a red flag. He's not going to be able to prove that the Michigan game was what he is moving forward the same way that he didn't prove it against versus Alabama, where the deep passing kind of went away beyond that one game. What's going to happen with the Arch Manning thing? Come back in in a month and we'll know. But there are question marks there. Colston Loveland, it's probably just positional value, and he had a bad fumble. Got to work on that. Other quarterbacks obviously fit that mold too. Deion Walker, I love him. You don't find 360-pound dudes that play edge. He was standing up against Florida again, or against Georgia again. That's insanity. I love it. He's so much fun. Jalen Walker's looked really good for Georgia. Didn't have a sack, but he was in Kentucky's backfield all game long. But he's also a bit of an unknown. Hasn't played a ton, so you got to see the entire season. So I get not putting him in immediately. Tommy Hill's been pretty good for Nebraska. He's kind of a under-the-radar name that I like what I've seen so far. Former wide receiver. Nebraska's not got a ton of talent that's experienced, but Hill certainly is one of them. All right, who should Pittsburgh start? RW for Russell Wilson, JF for Justin Fields. Fields is winning with 71% of the vote right now. I think it's really hard to go away from the guy that's winning games that's younger until he loses a game. And I think that's kind of why you approach it as, you don't commit either way. Because the one thing you can't do right now, if you're Pittsburgh, is make your decision. You actually can't. Because if you say, when Russ is healthy, we're going back to him, how does that make Fields feel? That's not how you maximize him. And what you can't do is say, Fields is our guy, and then he puts up a clunker. And now it's like, whoa, wait a minute. So you buy time. You say, well, we're not making a decision. We'll see how it goes. Russ isn't ready yet. If Fields has a bad game, like this week or next week, all of a sudden, maybe Russ is healthy. That's how it goes sometimes. If you guys have not already, please make sure you are subscribed to us here on NFL Daily. We'll have more videos all week long as we get set for week 3 of the NFL season. Should be a fun time. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now.